Welcome back to Steelers Fix Daily. And oh, do we have a special one for you today? The Pittsburgh Steelers went across the ocean into the heart of Dublin, Ireland, and came home with a win. Not just any win, a 24-21 victory over the Minnesota Vikings in front of more than 74,000 fans at Croke Park. The first ever NFL regular season game played in Ireland. That's history, that's legacy, that's Steelers football on the world stage. And let me tell you, it was a game that had everything. We had Aaron Rodgers carving up a top defense. We had Metcalf looking like the superstar he's supposed to be. We had a ground game stepping up without Jaylen Warren. We had a defense, battered and bruised, still coming after Carson Wentz like a pack of wolves. And we had terrible towels spinning under Irish sunshine, with chants of "Here we go" echoing across a soccer pitch turned football cathedral. That's what I want to dig into today. We'll talk about Rodgers, about Metcalf, about the run game, about Payton Wilson running 22 miles an hour to save a touchdown. We'll talk about the defense, the atmosphere, the history, and why this win matters going into the bye. But first, let's start with the basics. The Minnesota Vikings aren't some pushover team. This is a group that went 14-3 last season. They came in 2-1 this year with one of the best offensive minds in football at head coach and a defensive coordinator in Brian Flores, who lives to confuse quarterbacks. Their defense ranked top 10 in 8 categories. Their offense ranked 6th in scoring. This was a measuring stick game, plain and simple. And the Steelers measured up. Aaron Rodgers, man. He keeps proving he's exactly what this team needed. Efficient, precise, under control. He finished 18 of 22, that's 81.8%, for 200 yards and a touchdown. No turnovers, no sacks that cost the game, no panic. His passer rating, 119.7. That's clean football. But it's more than just stats. It's how he used cadence, how he manipulated the Vikings' looks. He forced them to declare early. He took Flores' disguises and basically ripped the mask right off. That's veteran savvy. And then, of course, came the bomb. The play we'll be talking about for years. Rodgers to Metcalf 80 yards to the house. Now look, Metcalf has had a solid start to his Steelers career, but this was the breakout. 5 targets, 5 catches, 123 yards, average of over 25 yards per catch. But that one where he split the coverage, where he showed that freak speed, where Rodgers hit him in stride, that's why you bring a guy like Metcalf to Pittsburgh. That's the kind of play that can swing momentum, that can shut up a crowd, or in this case, ignite one. Here's some history for you. With that touchdown, Rodgers joined Tom Brady as only the second quarterback ever to throw 60 or more touchdowns against multiple franchises. He already had 64 against the Bears. Now he's got 60 against the Vikings. And oh yeah, that was also Rodgers' 91st completion of 50-plus yards, passing Drew Brees for the all-time lead. That's the kind of milestone that doesn't just sneak up on you. It cements you. But while Rodgers and Metcalf lit it up, this game was also won on the ground. Jaylen Warren was a late scratch with a knee issue, and a lot of us wondered, would the run game disappear? Nope. Kenneth Gainwell and rookie Caleb Johnson stepped in and carried the load. Together, 121 yards on 25 carries, nearly 5 yards a pop. Gainwell especially, 19 carries for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was physical, decisive, and steady. He kept the chains moving. He gave Rodgers second and manageable. He gave this offense balance. And you know what Rodgers said about Gainwell? He said, Kenny Gainwell. I always thought watching him in Philly, he deserved more touches. He's a baller. That's from a Hall of Fame quarterback. Steelers fans, that's a weapon right there. Now I can't just talk about the offense, because this defense, even without Joey Porter Jr. and Alex Highsmith, came after the Vikings with bad intentions. 6 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions, both off deflections. They held Minnesota to 70 rushing yards. That's Steelers football. Keanu Benton continues to show why he's the future of the defensive line. 1.5 sacks, collapsing the pocket. TJ Watt? Yeah, he just does TJ Watt things. Tipping a pass, intercepting it himself, setting up a touchdown. Derek Harmon tipped another that Deshaun Elliott snagged. Splash plays everywhere. But the play of the game, to me, came from rookie linebacker Payton Wilson. Fourth quarter, Steelers up 24-14, 3 minutes 25 seconds left. Carson Wentz finds Jordan Addison wide open. Addison is gone, 81 yards of green grass ahead. Except Payton Wilson doesn't quit. He chases. He runs 22.48 miles per hour, the fastest recorded by any linebacker since 2017. He drags Addison down at the 1-yard line. Minnesota eventually scores, but it takes them 4 plays and over a minute of clock. That's the difference between giving Rodgers the ball back with no time left versus giving him time to ice the game. That's effort. That's heart. That's the standard is the standard. Now let's not forget the atmosphere, because what happened at Croke Park wasn't just another road win. This was Ireland. This was Dan Rooney's vision. This was the Steelers' heritage brought full circle. Terrible towels were everywhere. Renegade blasted. Here we go Steelers chants echoed like it was Acrisure. Rodgers said he was stunned. 3.5 hours before kickoff, the stands were already filling. That doesn't happen in the States. That's Irish passion meeting Steelers Nation. Tomlin called the hospitality top-notch. TJ Watt said it was incredible. Cam Hayward said it was a thank you to Dan Rooney. And that's the thing. This wasn't just about football. It was about history. About honoring the Rooney family, who dreamed of bringing the Steelers to Dublin. For Hayward, who knew Dan Rooney personally, it meant everything. For Art Rooney II, carrying a hurling stick around pregame, it was about connecting football with heritage. For the players, hearing Tomlin's speech the night before, it was about playing for something bigger. And they did. They won for Rooney. They won for Pittsburgh. They won for Ireland. All right, so let's keep going. Because this game wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Let's talk about the defense again, because I can't get enough of what they did. Look, Carson Wentz is no Patrick Mahomes, but he's a veteran quarterback who knows how to run an offense. The Vikings came in top 10 in almost every offensive category last year. They've got playmakers like Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson, guys who can torch you if you give them space. And yet, for most of this game, the Steelers had them frustrated, uncomfortable, and flat out rattled. 6 sacks. That's not just numbers, that's dominance. 14 quarterback hits. That's a quarterback waking up sore on Monday morning. And 2 takeaways, both the kind of splash plays that flip momentum. That's Steelers football. Keanu Benton, let's take a second on him. The guy looks like he's turning into the next cornerstone on that defensive line. 1.5 sacks, multiple pressures, and he was clogging up the middle against the run. Reminds me of when a young Casey Hampton started showing flashes, and we knew, yeah, this guy's going to be here a while. And of course, TJ Watt, what do you even say at this point? He tipped a pass, caught it himself, and almost turned it into a pick 6. That's not normal. That's not just hustle. That's generational talent. The kind of guy you pay to change games, and every single week he does. Now we got to talk about Payton Wilson again, because Steelers Nation, that play at the end, might go down as one of those remember when moments. Jordan Addison should have had an 81-yard touchdown. That should have been the game-tying play. Instead, Wilson hits 22.5 miles per hour, faster than some wide receivers, by the way, and drags him down at the 1. You want to talk about effort? You want to talk about heart? That's it. That's why the coaches trusted him enough to start games earlier this year. That's why fans are already falling in love with him. And it's not just the play itself, it's the ripple effect. Because the Vikings had to burn 4 plays, burn clock, and by the time they punched it in, the comeback window had shrunk. That's the difference between Rodgers kneeling it out versus Rodgers sweating out another drive. That's the definition of hidden yardage, hidden time. That's championship football. Now let's zoom out a little. The Steelers were shorthanded in the secondary. Joey Porter Jr. didn't play. Jaylen Ramsey left and came back with a hamstring issue. Darius Slay got cleated. Brandon Echols cramped up. At one point, Tomlin admitted they were running a big nickel with 3 safeties on the field, because frankly, that's all they had left. That's not ideal against a Vikings offense that wants to spread you out. But still, Pittsburgh survived. Think about that for a second. Missing starters, losing guys in game, against a team with Jefferson and Addison, and they still won. That's grit. That's scheming. That's the next man up philosophy Mike Tomlin always preaches. Now let's shift gears and talk about the vibe, because Croke Park, man, it looked and sounded like Heinz Field West. The music blared, Renegade hit, and terrible towels were everywhere. Steelers fans don't just travel, they invade. And in this case, the Irish fans joined in too. Rodgers said it felt different, like the crowd was there way earlier than he'd ever seen in the States. And Tomlin said the hospitality was off the charts. And you know who loved it most? The Rooney family. This was Dan Rooney's dream. The late chairman, who served as U.S. ambassador to Ireland, always wanted to bring the Steelers here for a regular season game. Sunday, that dream became reality. Art Rooney, too, carried a hurling stick around pregame, explaining the cultural importance to players. Cam Hayward, one of the only guys left who knew Dan Rooney personally, said the whole game felt like a thank you. That's powerful. That's legacy. Let me throw this at you. How many teams in the NFL can play a game overseas and have it mean this much? The Jaguars in London? Sure, that's their second home now. The Dolphins in Germany? Maybe. But the Steelers in Ireland? That's roots. That's family. That's the Chief, Art Rooney Sr., starting this franchise in 1933. That's Dan Rooney building a bridge across the ocean. That's why this wasn't just week 4 of the NFL season. This was bigger. And Steelers fans responded. They turned Croke Park into Acrisure East. They sang, they chanted, they waved towels. Even Rodgers, who has seen everything in this league, was blown away. He said, "I thought the atmosphere was outstanding. It was fantastic." Now let's not sugarcoat everything. This was still a close game. It finished 24-21, and the Vikings stormed back late. Rodgers and the offense only ran 56 plays. The secondary got thin, and Addison burned them deep once. Calvin Austin III, left with a shoulder injury, came back with his arm in a sling. Ramsey's hamstring is worth monitoring. This wasn't perfect. But you know what? That's the NFL. Nobody's healthy. Nobody's perfect. And at the end of the day, a win is a win, especially one with this much weight. And here's the beauty. Now comes the bye week. 3-1 heading into October. Time to heal up. Time to regroup. Time to get Joey Porter Jr. back, hopefully get Ramsey's hamstring right, and reset for what's coming. And what's coming? A brutal 5-game stretch. Cleveland, then a short week Thursday night in Cincinnati, then Green Bay and Indy at home, then a trip to the Chargers. That's a gauntlet. That's where we'll find out what this team really is. But think about where we were just 2 weeks ago. After Seattle, fans were panicking. After New England, fans were frustrated. Now, back-to-back wins. Rodgers humming. The defense creating splash. Metcalf looking like a monster. Gainwell emerging. 3-1. Suddenly it feels different, doesn't it? And that's Steelers football, man. It's never smooth. It's never easy. It's always a little stressful. But when you stack wins, when you gut out games like this one, you start to build confidence. You start to believe. All right, Steelers Nation. Let's bring this home. We're sitting at 3-1. That feels good, doesn't it? Especially knowing the gauntlet that's ahead. But let's not underestimate what this start means in the AFC North. Cleveland? They're tough, no doubt. That defense is nasty. But do you trust Joe Flacco to put together a whole season? Bengals? They're without Burrow and have a non-existent defense. Baltimore? You know they're always hanging around, but let's be honest. Lamar in January hasn't proven it yet. The North is brutal, but it's also wide open. And after watching the Steelers grind out a win against a quality Vikings team, you can't tell me Pittsburgh doesn't belong in the conversation. Think about it. 3-1 despite missing Porter Jr., despite losing Warren for a game, despite Rodgers still learning Arthur Smith's offense, despite a secondary that's been patched together with duct tape. And yet, they're still here, still competing, still winning. That's what separates Pittsburgh from the pretenders. Now I want to zoom out even more. This game in Dublin wasn't just about one Sunday. It was about what the Steelers represent. It was about showing the NFL's global fans, this is who we are. Tough defense, balanced offense, iconic fan base. This wasn't some random Week 4 matchup. This was a showcase. And Pittsburgh delivered. Let's hit a little history while we're at it. The last time the Steelers played internationally? Mexico City, preseason 2000. Before that, you got to go all the way back to exhibitions in Japan in the 90s. Never before had they played a regular season game overseas. And to do it in Ireland, of all places, a place tied directly to the Rooney family, that matters. That's bigger than football. And fans will remember this one. Just like the Immaculate Reception. just like Ben to Santonio in the Super Bowl, just like Duck Hodges somehow beating the Browns on a Thursday night. This won't be remembered for the score alone. It'll be remembered for the setting, the atmosphere, the heritage. Now let's go back to the injuries real quick because they're important. Calvin Austin III, shoulder injury, came back in a sling. He was just starting to carve out a role as a speed threat, so that one hurts. Ramsey, hamstring. We know those can linger. Porter Jr. hopefully back after the bye. Slay and Echols should be fine, just dings. The bye couldn't have come at a better time. Mike Tomlin even said it. We're leaking in some areas, so it's probably at an appropriate time. But honestly, I've never had a bye that didn't seem like it came at the right time. Classic Tomlin. Always cool, always even-keeled. And I'll tell you this, Tomlin deserves credit. He had those guys ready to play in a different country, in a different time zone, with distractions all around. He got them focused. He made sure they understood the history, the importance of Dan Rooney's vision. That's leadership. That's why he's been here as long as he has. That's why the standard is the standard isn't just a catchphrase. Now let's get a little emotional because this game deserves it. Imagine Dan Rooney looking down on Sunday. His team, his city, his family's legacy, in Dublin, on Irish soil, with terrible towels waving, with Steelers Nation screaming. And his team wins. That's storybook. That's bigger than the box score. That's why we love this game. And it wasn't just the veterans. It wasn't just Rodgers and Metcalf and Watt. It was young guys too. Payton Wilson running down Addison, Benton dominating inside, Caleb Johnson chipping in carries. This wasn't just a win for today. It was a glimpse of tomorrow. Now let me take a quick jab at the rivals, because you know I can't resist. While the Steelers were making history in Ireland, what were the Browns doing? Oh, right. Still bragging about their preseason wins like they count. What about the Ravens? Dropping games they should win? Bengals? Still trying to figure out if their quarterback is healthy. Meanwhile, the Steelers are stacking wins, building confidence, and making memories on foreign soil. That's the difference. That's culture. That's why we say, here we go. So where do we go from here? The bye week? Then the Browns, Bengals, Packers, Colts, Chargers. 5 games that'll tell us everything. Can Rodgers keep stacking efficient games? Can Metcalf stay hot? Can Warren get back healthy and turn this into a true 3-headed backfield with Gainwell and Johnson? Can Porter Jr. and Ramsey give this secondary the boost it needs? Can Watt keep wrecking games? Can Wilson keep flying all over the field? That's the storyline of October. But here's what we know already. This team has fight. This team has grit. This team can win ugly and win big. They can win in New England. They can win in Dublin. They can win anywhere. And if they keep getting better, if they keep stacking, then January football is going to be very, very interesting. Steelers Nation, enjoy this one. Remember it. Because 10 years from now, when people ask you where you were when the Steelers played in Ireland, you'll remember. You'll say, yeah, I saw Rodgers hit Metcalf for 80. I saw Payton Wilson run down Addison. I saw the towels waving at Croke Park. That's forever. That's history. So let's wrap it here. Steelers 24, Vikings 21. The first regular season game ever in Ireland belongs to the black and gold. We head into the bye at 3-1. We head into October with confidence, with momentum, and with history on our side. And as always, thanks for tuning in to Steelers Fix Daily. Make sure to follow us on all platforms and check out the full article recap now live on SteelersFix.com. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Steelers Fix signing off. Here we go.